Back with Guts and pals, Puck is playing with the Bayolet, saying it's a remarkable piece of art. Then the Bayolet opens an eye and scares the shit out of him. Guts explains that the Bayolet isn't mere artwork but a living thing. It's not dangerous in its current form because it's more of a tool than a demon. But Guts doesn't know how exactly it works. Then Guts asks Vargas how the Count got a hold of the Bayolet, and Vargas replies that he bought it by chance from a caravan of merchants. Guts takes particular interest in the fact that it was by chance. Vargas pulls out a map of the Count's castle and reveals a secret passageway that Guts can use to sneak in. Vargas is happy that he has someone he can seek his vengeance vicariously through, and while compelling Guts to avenge him, he puts his hand on Guts' shoulder. Remember in episode 1 when I mentioned Guts gets pretty sensitive to unwelcome touches? Yeah, he freaks out a little. By which I mean he kicks the small, crippled, disfigured, sad man who's lost everything important to him. Guts is a great, incredibly compelling character, but Black Swordsman Arc Guts gets pretty hard to defend at times. Which is to say, most of the arc. Guts then proceeds to insult and berate Vargas on his appearance, and says he looks like a monster. Guts, buddy, just... Puck, yet again being the voice of reason, chides Guts for treating Vargas that way. Vargas takes the highest possible road and says he doesn't mind the degradation, as long as Guts takes down the Count. Guts agrees to kill the Count, but not to avenge Vargas. Then he quickly hushes the room. All of a sudden, Zondark smashes through the wall brandishing his new battle axe, which beats the shit out of that dumb pickaxe he had. When Zondark goes to attack him, Guts readies himself for the fight to come, grabbing the hilt of the Dragon Slayer. This time around, Guts is actually blown back by the force of Zondark's strike. After Guts recovers from the strike, he realizes that his brand is bleeding. He discovers Zondark is now a demonic entity. Yet again, Zondark goes in for an attack, but this time Guts counters and cuts off Zondark's arm, thus disarming him. Instead of panicking, Zondark just smiles, and a strange substance forms from his arm. It extends and grabs his battle axe. Yet again, Zondark is poised to strike, while Zondark chants kill repeatedly. Guts takes a defensive stance? I can't quite tell, but he's Guts, so he's ready, I'm sure. Zondark says he'll chop Guts into mincemeat, because that worked so well for him the last time. Zondark surrounds Guts with his fucked up Slugman arm and strikes with his battle axe, which actually knocks Guts back into a pillar. The flurry of strikes that follows destroys the pillar behind Guts and much of the area around him. Any that come close to hitting the mark are skillfully parried by Guts. Puck is almost crushed by the rubble created by the skirmish, but Vargas throws himself over Puck, saving him. While Zondark is whipping his axe around, Guts manages to evade well enough to get behind Zondark and cut off his other arm, quickly followed by a portion of his head. When Zondark comes back with a strike from his axe, Guts yet again parries his blow. Puck suddenly has a realization I can't particularly blame him for having just now, that Guts is a master swordsman. With all the monster fighting that Guts has been doing, he hasn't really shown much of his high level of technique with a sword. He's seemingly just been swinging his sword wildly with enough brute strength to make it through the trials lay before him. But this provided him a chance to show his prowess. Now instead of falling over and dying like a normal fucking person with a part of their head chopped off wood, Clout Master Zondark has to be different. The borderline brain-dead motherfucker just stands there and has a slug out of his head. A slug that congratulates Guts on fucking up Zondark in his new form. Vargas immediately recognizes the head slug as the Count, and the Count recognizes him as well. Vargas picks up the Bayolet and holds it protectively. That seals it for the Count. He can't wait to get back to torturing Vargas. The Count starts talking the same type of shit that all apostles do. You know, you're pretty good for a human. Surely no one can defeat you. No human, that is. God, what a cunt. Guts strikes the ceiling and causes it to fall onto Zondark, trapping him, and Vargas opens a trapdoor, facilitating their escape. The cunning escape made by our heroes lands them in the sewer system of the city. Vargas inquires whether or not the monstrosity that Zondark has become is the Count, to which Guts responds no, that it's more like his demon. It was feeding off of Zondark and controlling his body, leaving him mindless and full of killing intent. Before Guts leaves, he wants just one thing from Vargas, the Bailet. Vargas hesitates for a moment, so Guts grabs the Bailet and runs off, which Puck admonishes him for. Puck wishes Vargas well before he takes off to join Guts, and Vargas wishes him the same. Puck imparts some sage wisdom and heartwarming sentiment to Vargas before he leaves, and Vargas very much appreciates it. But just when he's walking away, a horrifying tentacle reaches out of the water and grabs him. At the same time, Puck is yet again admonishing Guts for his rudeness and inconsiderate nature. Puck then tries to appeal to Guts' logic by pointing out that Vargas is a potential ally because of their shared interest in taking out the Count. Much like with many of the good points Puck has made in these past few chapters, Guts just laughs at the very implication of what he says. Guts yet again insults Vargas' looks and actions, and says that he doesn't want to be dragged down with him, and that it goes for Puck as well. Guts then ducks into another alleyway, and hears talk about another execution taking place. The execution of an ally of the man who caused commotion on the execution grounds. Vargas is being executed. Guts begins to perform some maintenance on his gear, all the while ignoring anything Puck has to say, which causes Puck to take the hint and fly away. Guts caresses his missing forearm and eye and thinks back to what Vargas told him about being tortured by the Count. This clearly gives Guts a resolve, and even more fuel for his fire. Guts thinks back to what the Count did to Vargas' family, and his wish for Guts to avenge him. This causes Guts to punch a few bricks out of the wall and seals in exactly what he's going to do, and why he's going to do it. At the execution grounds, Vargas and the Count come face to face for the first time in 7 years. The Count taunts Vargas and says that he should be grateful that he's just going to be executed. Usually there would be an interrogation beforehand. Dahl reveals that Vargas no longer has the Bailet, so the Count concludes that Guts must have it. Puck is then shown above the execution ground standing on a pole, pondering what he can do, and then he sees Guts. As Puck is flying toward Guts, he yells his name, which scares the shit out of Guts, and Puck asks Guts what he's going to do to stop the execution. Guts says that Puck misunderstands his intentions. He's there to watch Vargas die, not to save him. Guts points out that in the shadows past the castle gate there are hundreds of soldiers waiting to pounce the second he rushes the execution stand. He then puts the task onto Puck's shoulders, but Puck couldn't possibly save Vargas. As Guts is known to do at this point, he starts another diatribe on the average person, that an average man can't possibly defeat a monster. An ambition like that comes with a price attached, and the price is too high if you die in vain. The only reward for an ambition too great is self-destruction. At the same time he goes on his diatribe, his emotions yet again pour into Puck, his dark, violent, self-hating, destructive emotions, and Puck wonders if these emotions are the source of Guts' strength. Suddenly, Vargas is forced on the chopping block, and Guts finishes his diatribe by saying Vargas should have known his limits. A rat should live like a rat. Puck then asks Guts if he's afraid, which surprises Guts, and he asks Puck what it is he's talking about. Puck explains that Vargas is fighting enemies he can't possibly defeat, and that Guts knows that he's in the exact same position. So Guts is scared he's fighting a losing battle, and he doesn't want to admit that he and Vargas are exactly alike. Guts scoffs at this, and Puck asks why he came if he really doesn't care about Vargas. Guts strongly grabs Puck out of the air, says he talks too much, and asks how he gets off talking to a human like that. Puck bites Guts' hand to escape from it, starts shadowboxing, and calls Guts a, and I quote, big ass, selfish bastard, chicken. And then he flies away. Guts then questions whether he should be feeling compassion for the little elf, and then he decides to act. Puck is then shown flying above the execution grounds, probably about to do something stupid, but he's suddenly hit with all of the fear, anger, sadness, and guilt of the hundreds of people present for the execution. As the executioner walks up to the chopping block, Puck looks back at the alley Guts is in, only to see Guts smirking up at him. Puck internally debates whether or not he should act to try to stop or hinder Vargas' execution, and he decides to do it. Puck flies the executioner at top speed, eliciting reaction from Guts, the Count, and Vargas. And he bounces right off the executioner's axe. He knocks himself the fuck out. The Count just orders for the execution to continue, and Vargas uses the moments before his execution to talk some mad shit to the Count. Vargas says that it's a shame he won't be around to see the Count choke on his own blood, because death will be paying him a visit soon. The Count discounts this prediction as nonsense and gives the order to finally kill Vargas. With his last breaths, he beseeches Guts to hold up the Count's severed head once and for all. As Vargas is decapitated, Guts covers his mouth, and as his head flies through the air, Guts is appalled at the sight, as he walks away while Vargas' head is thrust into the air. As Guts is walking through the alleyway, his brand starts to hurt, and when he looks ahead, he sees the same small deformed demon he's been seeing for the past few chapters. Suddenly, its head turns into Vargas's and freaks Guts the fuck out. It leaves the last words of Vargas echoing in his mind. The Count, meanwhile, internally praises Guts for not taking his bait, and we get a view of a girl looking down over the city and end on the outside of her window. We then cut to the outside of the city, with 2 soldiers disposing of Vargas' body into a pit of most likely heretic corpses. They are not happy to be stuck with this job, and then they begin to insult Vargas for thinking he could defeat the Count. But they're pussies, so they get grossed out by Vargas and decide they need to leave. Then Guts walks up behind them, and that's when they really shit their pants. Well, they would have if they lived long enough. Guts talks to Vargas' head, clearing his doubts, saying that he won't fail like Vargas did, with a look of vengeance in his eyes. Then his brand begins to act up, and spirits and corpses rise from the graveyard, saying that they want their revenge together, and Guts is momentarily possessed by the spirits. Guts casts them off, and says that he'll never get their vengeance for them, that he has nothing in common with scum and carcasses like them. This is his fight, and his fight only. A person of flesh and blood. He'll kill the Count himself. The Guardians of Desire, Part 2. End.